يحيي الله الموتى ويريكم آياته لعلكم تعقلون ثم قست قلوبكم من بعد ذلك فهي كالحجارة أو أشد قسوة وإن من الحجارة لما يتفجر منه الأنهار وإن منها لما يشقق فيخرج منه الماء وإن منها لما يهبط من خشية الله وما الله بغافل عما تعملون أفتطمعون أن يؤمنوا لكم وقد كان فريق منهم يسمعون كلام الله ثم يحرفونه من بعد ما عقلوه وهم يعلمون وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلا بعضهم إلى بعض قالوا أتحدثونهم بما فتح الله عليكم ليحاجوكم به عند ربكم أفلا تعقلون أولا يعلمون أن الله يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون ومنهم أميون لا يعلمون الكتاب إلا أماني وإنهم إلا يظنون فويل للذين يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون وقالوا لن تمسنا النار إلا أياما معدودة قل أتخذتم عند الله عهدا فلن يخلف الله عهده أم تقولون على الله ما لا تعلمون بلى من كسب سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم معرضون وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم لا تسفكون
لا تسفكون
دماءكم
دماءكم
ولا تخرجون
ولا تخرجون
أنفسكم من
أنفسكم من
دياركم ثم
دياركم ثم
أقررتم وأنتم
أقررتم وأنتم
تشهدون
تشهدون
ثم أنتم
ثم أنتم
هؤلاء
هؤلاء
تقتلون أنفسكم
تقتلون أنفسكم
وتخرجون فريقا
وتخرجون فريقا
منكم من
منكم من
ديارهم تظاهرون
ديارهم تظاهرون
عليهم بالإثم
عليهم بالإثم
والعدوان
والعدوان
وإن يأتوكم
وإن يأتوكم
أسارى تفادوهم
أسارى تفادوهم
وهو محرم
وهو محرم
عليكم إخراجهم
عليكم إخراجهم
أفتؤمنون ببعض
أفتؤمنون ببعض
الكتاب وتكفرون
الكتاب وتكفرون
ببعض
ببعض
فما جزاء
فما جزاء
من يفعل
من يفعل
ذلك منكم
ذلك منكم
إلا خزي
إلا خزي
في الحياة
في الحياة
الدنيا
الدنيا
ويوم القيامة
ويوم القيامة
يردون إلى
يردون إلى
أشد العذاب
أشد العذاب
وما الله
وما الله
بغافل عما
بغافل عما
تعملون
تعملون
أولئك الذين
أولئك الذين
اشتروا الحياة
اشتروا الحياة
الدنيا بالآخرة
الدنيا بالآخرة
فلا يخفف عنهم
فلا يخفف عنهم
العذاب
العذاب
ولا هم
ولا هم
ينصرون
ينصرون
ولقد آتينا
ولقد آتينا
موسى الكتاب
موسى الكتاب
وقفينا من بعد
وقفينا من بعد
بالرسل
بالرسل
وآتينا عيسى
وآتينا عيسى
ابن مريم
ابن مريم
البينات
البينات
وأيدناه بروح
وأيدناه بروح
القدس
القدس
أفكلما جاءكم
أفكلما جاءكم
رسول بما
رسول بما
لا تهوى
لا تهوى
أنفسكم
أنفسكم
استكبرتم
استكبرتم
ففريقا كذبتم
ففريقا كذبتم
وفريقا تقتلون
وفريقا تقتلون
وقالوا قلوبنا
وقالوا قلوبنا
غلف
غلف
بل لعنهم
بل لعنهم
الله بكفرهم
الله بكفرهم
فقليلا ما
فقليلا ما
يؤمنون
يؤمنون
صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم.
الحمد لله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا Muhammad wa alihi sahbihi wasallam. So hopefully that wasn't too fast. The pace was better this time, inshallah. So just as a short reflection, inshallah, there's a verse that I'm sure you've all read before, and perhaps many of you have seen the story of before as well, which I'll try and bring up here. It's the story which this surah itself is named after, which is the story of the cow. It's a very peculiar name to name a story after the surah of the cow. And one of the interesting aspects when you look into this story is it teaches you, or it encapsulates the theme of what the surah is meant to be about, which is in the essence of finding or asking questions and following commands. So before I begin, have you got a pen and paper? No? Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Was that command I just gave you, or question, was it unclear? It was everyone understood what it meant. Did any of you think to ask what size pen you should bring? Or what color you should bring? Or perhaps how many lines on a piece of paper? Or maybe it's the size of the book that you should bring. None of you thought to ask that. So bear that in mind when you hear the verses of Allah Azza Jal when He says that Musa alayhi salam asked his followers to slaughter a cow. When you hear the rest of the story, people might ask, what was wrong with their questions? What's wrong with them asking what type of cow it is, what color cow it is? Because the truth is, if I was to say to you, you need to slaughter a cow because Allah has asked you to, you wouldn't think to ask what color the cow should be or what size the cow should be. In the same way you didn't think to ask what size pen I should have or what color pen I should have. And in this surah, because that's what the surah is named after, Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to teach us that actually we need to think about the question we ask before we ask it, first and foremost. But then, I want to find it, it's verse 67. What's interesting is the sequence of events and questions that come after that. I've gone past it now. So they begin by asking, well, Musa alayhi salam asked them to slaughter a cow. Now what's interesting in a surah isn't just what's mentioned, but often what's not mentioned. So why is he asking them to slaughter a cow? It's not said in the story. So unless you've read the hadith or you've heard the story before, you wouldn't know. And in that you see a great example of when Allah tells us to follow a command. There'll be context and there'll be reasons and there'll be wisdoms that will be hidden from us that we won't see immediately, and it's not our job to question why or what's its purpose, but it's our question to follow. What's interesting then is the sequence of events after are a series of questions, and Allah Azza wa Jal has given to us an example of people before us so that we can learn how we can ask questions ourselves. So the first statement they say, after hearing Allah Azza wa Jal has asked you to slaughter a cow, they say, I keep missing the ayah. So here they go, قَالُوا أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزَوًا. They say, are you mocking us? Are you taking us as a joke? Now if I said to one of you guys, I said, look, can you pass me a pen? And then your reaction is like, are you kidding? Are you joking? The reaction itself implies a mocking attitude. It's a rude thing to say. So what's encapsulated in this story, and one of the things I love to teach when reflecting on the Quran, is the context and the meanings underneath the words that you're reading. So if you just read this sentence, and actually I did this myself before, you might just think, well, what's wrong with asking a question? You might want to know what type of cow it is, you might want to know, and that often is because you're sincere and you want to find out more. But what you see in this very first statement is the attitude with which they're approaching this, which is a mocking, reluctance, procrastination, trying to delay what they want to do. So the Musa alayhi salam in his beautiful etiquette teaches us how he should respond. He goes, well, I'm not, a very matter of frank matter, I'm not one of the ignorant, I'm not planning to be one of the ignorant. So then they say, well, pray to your Lord. And look at the way they phrase it, pray to your Lord. It doesn't say pray to our Lord or let us pray, it says pray to your Lord. So you see many of the details that really allude to the statements. And I asked one of my teachers, when you see the statements or speeches that people are mentioned in the Quran, is that the actual words they said? Because they didn't speak Arabic. And the answer actually really satisfied me. He said, what Allah, when He states a statement, He doesn't just state what they said, but He also states their intention within the statement. So you can read in the way Allah phrased it, not just the words, but also the intended meaning behind the words. And Allah Azza wa Jal really does bring these to light within the text of the Quran. And I think this is one of the things that when you're reading even the English, you can begin to explore and to think about. So they begin to ask, and I won't go through the details, but they say, oh Allah, clarify to us the color, or I pray to Allah to clarify us the color of a cow. After he says, well, it's a kind of a بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك. Sorry, the first question wasn't what color it is. The first question is to show us what type of cow it is. So he says it's neither kind of, I don't want to mistranslate, but he's kind of describing the type of cow it is. The second, then they said, well, pray to him to clarify what color a cow it is. And you can see the questions become more and more tedious, more and more kind of particular. And then eventually the questions keep getting more and more pedantic, and then finally they're given the name of a type of a very, very specific cow, which is only one of a kind, and they know exactly which one to do. And that cow is so expensive, they say it was worth its weight in gold, and they spent a fortune on it. But the reason I brought this surah to open up with as a reflection is because the surah itself is named after it. And those of you who know Surah Al-Baqarah know it contains a lot of legal rulings or things that we have to follow and do and so on. And Allah doesn't name a surah unless the theme is to match the verses within it and to give an overall kind of essence of what this surah is meant to be. So what Allah teaches us in this surah is a few things. Number one is when commandments are given to us, our first duty is to obey them. That's not to say we shouldn't understand them, but our first duty is to obey them. And the wisdoms and reflections that come out of why these rulings are there will follow afterwards. The second is questioning isn't wrong. In fact, it's good to do so. But the important thing to ask is why is the question being asked? What is it coming from? And you see this, I guess, as parents when you tell your son to go and get your glasses from upstairs, and you're like, oh, which ones? Oh, where are they? Oh, they're the pink ones. And you kind of see they're just asking questions to deliberately procrastinate, so you just get fed up and do it yourself. So when you're asking questions to avoid a task, or you're asking questions for an insincere reason, you just end up making things difficult for yourself. But also knowing what things you should and shouldn't ask questions on as well, and knowing which things you're allowed to and not allowed to explore. And there's a lot of details here which we can't necessarily go into because of the kind of short of time. And then finally, whenever you want to make a prayer, or you ever want to ask Allah Azza wa Jal for something, it's something that you have to be involved in yourself. And one of the things I didn't mention is the very last statement they say is inna insha'Allah. So the very final statement, they, regardless of why they're saying it, but they make a prayer themselves, saying, God willing, this will happen. And that's when the clarity and the specificity of which cow it is comes through. So you should be part and parcel of seeking and wanting to find the answer when you're asking the question, and not just kind of relying on your teacher and kind of waiting for them, but there's a kind of a mutual respect and a mutual prayer that kind of takes place in that. And with that, I guess, is kind of an opening reflection. one of the things I mentioned in the very first lesson is kind of the tools you can look at to explore and to delve into kind of what is it that teaches us behind the story. This kind of tool, we call it the surah theme. So you can kind of connect the ayahs to the overall surah and what it is that you can gain an understanding of. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be picking different ayahs and showing you how that can be done. But perhaps now, when we read the rest of the surahs and the rest of the verses, we can kind of get at least a little kind of gem of some of the meanings there. And inshallah we can go away with that, and something we can take home with us, inshallah. So just to kind of a few things, so I realize some of the people online might not have heard. We'll be starting at 8:15, but you can come and pray Isha in the masjid at 8 o'clock, and then we'll begin after that. The purpose is not a lesson, so I'm not teaching you how to read the Quran. There's lots of places that do that. The purpose is just to get you reading. And with that, you actually begin to implement, and you'll improve in fluency. It's actually the way I learned as well, because you can attend classes for years and still be very slow. And then the same with the reflections. The purpose is not to go through the meanings, because we read 4 or 5 pages. The purpose is for us to take something away with us that we can think about and reflect. I've been doing this for about a year with the kids at Sunday school, and we found a lot of benefit in that, inshallah. And maybe some of you guys can share your reflections as well when you kind of when we finish with it, inshallah. So with that, we'll finish, inshallah. We'll keep the sessions relatively short, so it'll be about half an hour, 35 minutes of reading and about a 10-minute reflection, just so it's always easy for you, so you don't feel it's overburdening, inshallah. Is that okay? Jazakallah khair. And for those online, thank you for joining in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.